Hey everyone, I'm back with another update for Operation Hellstorm. This is Jim Sufrilis, pretty much founder of Scionia Games. I just want to show you what we've been up to in the last couple of weeks since our last update. I'm going to start off with some screenshots. For the last video we left off somewhere about here. We had just the really main basic lighting in the main area. Blue lighting there, some red, and the stage was at 50% complete, which actually wasn't even 50% complete. It was something like 40% complete, the actual map design itself. Shortly after that, I made the map collisions myself. Other people in the team are actually trying to get more acquainted with the Cryengine and some other assets. They're building some other assets and other things on the game. This is, let me see, it's actually 50% complete version. Still so here, a lot of flares. Somebody could probably say that we're kind of like going in competition with J.J. Abrams with so many flares. These will be reduced. A lot of these are just simply, as I explained in the previous video, they are stock flares, and the distances, the brightness, and a whole bunch of stuff hasn't even been fixed on those. I just left them like that, which means that, as much as you zoom out, as far away as you go, the flares affect the camera lens in the same way, which is not really 100% realistic unless we're talking about a really strong light. So all these will be fixed, obviously, for the final version. Here we have this area completed at last in this shot. Some more areas that we have changed. Our temporary sun for now, just a quick work on some flares. And that's the map as it is now. Let me see. Correct. Passages are all there. And those underground. Yep. This is the map 100% complete. Here we've also just slapped the heads-up display on top of a screenshot. You can actually see that we haven't even gotten rid of the normal heads-up display, but just as a small test, just to see how it's gonna play out. The numbers up at the top, the icons, and everything. To be honest, I actually like it. I hope you all like it as well. It's very much what I wanted. What I was after. A heads-up display that is out of your immediate attention, and making it possible for you to actually focus on everything else. That's on full screen what it's like, pretty much. Giving you the ability to focus on the actual map and the action itself, as opposed to a whole lot of other head-up displays that just crowd your screen. These here are actually some asset building, but it's a little bit too early to actually go into these now. For this update, I'm just gonna show you around in the whole level. Let me just get that up and running. Here we go. I'm gonna load up the map on Mega Beacon and show you around. This is not the final version. This is the first complete version of the entire map layout and collisions and everything. So the map is ready for its first build, and balancing from then on with actually playing the game and getting a couple of matches between us running will determine the changes that the map might actually go through before the final build. Again, as I said last time, it has no assets actually. This is the collision model, all of it. But in this video here, as you can see, I have completed the entire lighting. This is the first lighting layout, you might say, for how the lighting is going to be in the whole map. Let me know if it's a little bit too dark. At some points I found it a little bit too dark, so I increased a little bit the general brightness. This here is actually in pure game mode, so I can't actually edit things to show you different lightings and stuff. I increased a little bit the general environment, the lighting itself, just to make it a little bit less dark. In pure game mode it's a little bit brighter actually, so maybe we might decrease a little bit, because some of these areas here, you know, they were meant to be a little bit darker. But let me know if maybe you think this is already too dark. I don't know. As you can see, try my best to get up here. We've added some lights in certain locations as well. We've increased the environment lighting, the general lighting of the place. Okay. So this is probably one of the rooftops. You know, we try to make everything more or less fit into, you know, I'll be able to see what's going on, but not too much. We'll see how you'll see the rest of the map as well. Hopefully, post me some thoughts on that. The gun is actually a problem, as we saw, as we found out with the 3.5 free SDK build. We're using the free SDK build at the moment because we want to get to know the engine and a lot of its ins and outs before we actually go into the proper subscription-based engine, which is 3.6 version. However, we have tested this in pure game mode and in the Cryengine itself, the builder, the sandbox editor, and the gun works perfectly fine in the 3.6 version. As do a whole lot of other things. There's a lot of extra changes as well. The lighting works differently. It's much more realistic. They actually have more parameters and stuff. So some issues that you actually see with the graphics here, they're all fixed. This is actually the 3.5 build for some reason, with stock weapons from the Cryengine that does this. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. Also, I got a bit of a frame drop. Here I'm running at 35, 50. No, I'm running a lot of frames because there's no lighting. As soon as I turn to this side, you can see how it starts dropping to 20 frames and maybe even goes down to 15, 17. At the moment I got my browser on with something like 50 tabs in it, so it's eating a lot of memory. Not to mention that I'm running this off a mid-range PC. And I've also done just a very small amount of optimization to the lighting and stuff. So a lot of things are actually, they're drawn. As soon as you look in a specific direction, it calculates a lot of things and it draws them, even though it doesn't need to. Some of them have been fixed. For example, as you can see, that light down there is invisible, and as soon as I go here, it's visible. It actually should be visible from a little bit further, but anyway. So we have done some optimizations to make it faster, and we got a gain of like 5 to 10 frames. But I'm running all these things in the background as well, and that's probably where I'm experiencing around about a 10 frame drop. It's running around about 30 frames smoothly, and it's got, at the moment, let me just walk around and show you the map while I'm at it, because I'm just staying in one location. This is the, as I had explained, one of the 2 spawn locations, and it's a landing platform for spacecrafts to our map, Omega Beacon, which is a Brock satellite. I'll just walk around and show you the map while I explain everything else. The scene at the moment is using something close to 100 lights. Yeah, it's pretty hectic. It's got a lot of lights into it. You know, want to make it real time, as much real time as we possibly can. We've decreased a couple lights in some locations, and we try to get a good balancing at it. You know, the worry would be with so much lights. It's not so much the, you know, it doesn't drop my frames that much, but the worry would have been at some point, okay, we don't have assets, we don't have all these polygons and textures in it at the moment, but we also haven't optimized the lighting, and we also haven't put pre-baked textures in anything yet, pre-baked lighting. For example, this here, we might actually we can add the flares without having the lights at all. And although it will miss out on having these shadows here, which are nice dynamic shadows as you're walking across and stuff, you know, being able to see these shadows. Although we're going to miss out on these shadows, it's going to be much faster for some lighting to be pre-baked into the textures. Okay, that there is actually, for some reason it's not drawn. That's not right. That side there, as you can see, it should be on this side as well, and so far it's been working, but all of a sudden it isn't. Anyway, this is the general area for our map. As I said, we're close to 100 lights at the moment. We'll probably, you know, have some pre-baked lights into the textures for the final build accordingly. It still runs smoothly. It still runs at 30 frames without everything running on the background. I run this smoothly at around about 40 frames, which, you know, the worry would have been if this actually had no frame loss at all, because this is a mid-range PC, and one of the heaviest things behind the engine and all the calculations, of course, is the lighting. So having placed all the lighting, you know, it's gonna have a frame drop a little bit with all the new assets. Of course, we've tested a couple of them, and there was actually no frame loss at all. It was basically as if the assets weren't even in the engine. So it can calculate a lot of polygons. Don't forget that this engine is really powerful for calculating tessellations and whatnot. So the lighting is really something that does drop the frames, and the worry would have been, as I see it, if I was experiencing no frame loss on my mid-range PC, because this game is aimed to be playable at mid-range, mid-end PCs and high-end PCs. Mostly high-end PCs, like it's very high detail, is tailored for high-end PCs. So the worry would have been if I had no frame drop. That would actually, you know, it would have been a good thing, but at the same time it would have also been a little bit of a worry for me that perhaps we're not pushing the engine to the graphics that it should be at. And the lighting really is one of the most important things that actually decreases the frame drops. You know, we have there's a lot of shadows cast here, a lot of real-time shadows. So, yeah, no matter what the asset is, even with these plain models here, it's, you know, calculating a lot of shadows. I don't know exactly the shadow frustrums, what exactly it means, but it's at 200. At some point it reaches 400. This is the bottom level to the map that you have not previously seen at all. It's all complete, it's all finished. I'm going to go through and explain it later on as well in further detail. Just to get this a little bit running a little bit faster. Okay, let's see if I can make my way back up to the top. There's going to be some pre-baked lighting, of course, in all of this. Try to keep it as dynamic as we possibly can, but at the same time, performance is important. It is important for us to have performance, even though it is ultimately aimed at a high-end PCs. The maximum graphics are aimed at high-end PCs. So let me just drop the graphics a little bit. I'll put them to high. Let's see how that goes. Again, keep in mind we have a lot of I have a lot of things running on the background on my PC as well at the moment. And did freeze. Okay, I got this back up and running. Yeah, I'm having a lot of issues here with Chrome. I don't know. You probably everybody's been noticing Chrome lately has been really hogging a lot of memory. I mean, it's been hogging 70% of my memory. Alright, I do have like 50 tabs open, but still, that's a lot of memory. Anyway, this is the high detail. As you can see, it's nearly 40 frames per second all the time. Here, where it draws the most amount of lights, it's at, again, at 40. Sometimes it drops to 35. You know, it should drop at about 30. So this is really good. This is really good for a mid-end PC. You know, it doesn't drop that much under 20 and 25, if ever. When it says frame average 12 frames per second, but as you can see, it's not. Frame average here. It's okay for a mid-end PC, which at the same time is got its memory being hogged by Google Chrome at the moment. Anyway, this is the high detail. So yeah, the worry for me would have been that under all this stress, mid-end PC to be able to run it at much higher frames. You know, that would actually start to worry me, as in, you know, maybe we're not using the lights fidelity as we should, or I don't know what else. So this is a good sign. And assets, really, in the polygons, you can really calculate them to quite an extent. We tested out this area down here. We made I made like a lot of assets here, and I put a lot of polygons on them as well and dropped them in, and I noticed no frame drops at all whatsoever. And we can use, that's the beauty of it, with a lot of those assets, because they're all separate pieces, you can have a lot of the level of details on them. The LODs, change and play around with LODs, and at the same time you know, change their view distance and a whole bunch of stuff. So we can actually hopefully not strain PCs too much, but at the same time have the very high quality actually be worthy of its name for a Cryengine game. So this is the bottom area. That's where you spawn. That's one of the 3 corridors you can get. You have access to from the second spawn area. Those are the other 2 there. The general idea of the bottom area is to give you access, of the bottom spawn area is to give you access more to the bottom ground, which is this area here. Changes that we haven't put in the game at the moment is some jump pods. I don't know what they're called. There's little jumping pads that you can actually get on top of, and you know, like in Unreal Tournament and Quake Live and Quake 3 Arena. We're going to be adding a lot of those as well, not a lot, but a fair amount, which will make getting around even easier. And as I stated on the previous video as well, it's going to be faster, higher jumping, rocket jumping, a whole bunch of stuff is going to be part of this game. So yeah, this is the bottom area, the underground area. This here is the generator that's going to be part of this place. The whole idea to the map is to be able to go wherever you want. Here it's going to have an elevator, you know, so you can hop up and down on it. This is the canteen. Down here we're thinking about the prisoner bay. Initially it was the crew bay, but now I think it's going to be better for prisoner bay. The freighter bay is over there. You know, and it all connects from underground here. We have all these ways you can actually walk around. This is the elevator location, so I'm just going back and forth a lot so you can see all the ways that everything interconnects with each other, which is one of the main things. We want to have assets built into these locations as well that you can actually hide behind and stuff like that. But ultimately, one of the biggest things behind the mentality of the game is being able to quickly change your position. You know, quickly use the map to go from one location to another location. There are some places like this here that you need to go around them. You know, so we do have a lot of locations like that as well in the map, the way that it's designed. But for the most part, we want it to be a very accessible map. For the most part, have its locations where you have to dodge behind assets, behind walls, be able to have access to different locations. For example, this is the fastest location, the fastest way up here. that the second spawn point can get to the bottom location, which is here, and I'll show you that later as well, how it works. You know, want to have a lot of back and forth. This location here is completely blocked out. We have the ramp, the main ramp to the upper level. There's going to be a couple of jump pads around. It's going to get you to be able to go to the top level. One of them is this ramp here, one of the ways you can get to the top. You come from here. This is the, it's not the communication, I think it's a defense bridge, not sure, I can't remember. I have all the details written down. This is the armory, and this is where you actually have an elevator or a jumping pad that will be able to boost you up there. So that's another way that you can get to the top. Rocket jumps inside all these. Another one is from here, and the third one is from, actually I'll just do it, show you right now. The third one is from down here, which is, as you can see, very accessible. Trying to make the map very accessible, but not too accessible, as much as it needs to be. This here is the loading dock and the engineering bay, the first engineering bay for the fighter crafts, ready to launch them off. The other way to get to the top is, again, as I said, rocket jumps aside is from here, from this location here. So at the moment it's just two spots. A third one with jumping pad that you can, a jumping pad that you can get on top of to get to this level here. So that kind of limits you in a way. You know, it's, each level has a lot of accessibility to it, but then again it also has a lot of limitations. For example, this side here, you have one door there and only another one door here, which is the quickest door after that to get to that outer area. And this is an entire corridor which forces you to walk, you know, this entire area for you to come to this location, which again has some nifty tricks in the way it all. So we have a kind of a secret little ledge here that you can walk up to the top. There's another ledge here that allows you to walk back and forth in these locations here. You know, trying to make a lot of accessibility. You know, and from here again, you can see whoever's coming up or down from the different locations. You know, able to go around all these. Some of these you're able to jump across. So you know, it's not too accessible. We're trying to make it as accessible as it can be before it becomes ridiculously accessible. You can go wherever you want. So we gotta get the balance with that. The second door on this side, we have one there, and the second door on this side is here to get to the main area. And there's a third one right in here. You have to walk all around here to actually get to it. So you can see it's not too accessible. Each location, each little area has more access of its own, but that's about it. Hopefully with wall running and stuff, some of these locations are actually going to be more accessible, and with rocket jumps and stuff. Up there, for example, you can wall run across that wall to get to the other side. And from this side we have only two doors leading to the barracks, which are connected to the armory underneath it. So we have one door here, and this is again a way to, you know, like hide and stuff. This actually middle section here blocks you out completely, so you have to come around here in order to actually get back to there. So there are limitations, and it also goes according to your maneuverability and what you can do, what loadout you have on your character and stuff, and what weapons you're using. For example, the vortex cannon, you can use it to create teleports. You know, I mean, you can your alternate fire, and pause the teleport there and drop another teleport ball here, and actually jumping through the vortexes, you know, will be able to teleport you from one location to another location. You can also use that against the, you'll be able to use that against the enemies as well. That's one of the utility weapons that we actually have in the, we're gonna have in the game. So yeah, the second door is here. for getting to the bottom area. And then we have the west door on the west stand over here, which connects around to the freighter base underneath. And we have this location here. You can run through these. There's going to be some assets here that are going to allow you to be able to relatively easily jump down without actually dying. And this is the freighter dock here, and the freighter bay is underneath us in this location here. There's another access point to it here. Okay, this here is another point that we actually blocked out. That's the second engineer. That's the secondary docking area. That's for different use. It's not so much for military. The military crafts are on the other side, the main strategy to the place. So once you come out from here, then you have this ramp that you can use it to go to the top levels, or you can jump down to connect to the other side. For now, I'll use it to jump down here. Much less fall damage in our final build, of course, and just get rid of the blood. Really is annoying, which is the way to the first spawn point, that location there. And from here, that's not the location that I was talking about in the previous video, that you can actually wall run across to it, for more accessibility. So this location here is more of like a pseudo trick way to get to them, a little back door. This is the main entrance. Where are you? This is the main entrance that connects these two locations. This is a much more open area, and the whole idea behind the top spawn point is that they have faster access to this location and to the top, which gives them a clear advantage. However, the bottom spawn point actually gives access to the underground, which is more concealed, and generally the other side of this main building here is much more concealed for the first spawn area, whereas these guys, they're much more open. And of course, there's going to be assets here, and like rockets and some missiles and stuff like that, because the barracks or whatever, that they can hide through. But they have much less cover, and anybody from this bottom spawn point actually being able to reach up here, like say for example the vortex cannon, straight away will be able to probably teleport to one of these locations quite fast and use one of these areas to the disadvantage of the first spawn point on this area here. So it has a balancing note in the sense that we're not trying to balance it that everybody can go everywhere at the same speed, at the same time. It takes more time from one location to go to specific locations, and it takes more time for the other spawn point to do the same to a range of different locations. So yeah, continuing this part down here, you come to this bridge, and that's the other entry that we had, as I was explaining. And that was a mistake actually, this one here, this little gap, but it might actually be a funny little strategic location for people to actually use against their enemies. So we're thinking about actually leaving it for the time being and see how that plays out. You get to the top level from here, which is a little bit not entirely the easiest way to do it. The easier way, which again forces you to go around, is this ladder here. And we changed this. In the previous version there was a pipe that was going to be leading up to the roof. We got rid of it, make it a little bit harder for the first spawn location to actually get to the top. So they have to walk a little bit more. It adds seconds. Basically just adds seconds to their to their whole strategy. And sometimes it's those seconds that we're actually playing with. We want to make sure that they they're balanced out nicely. So yeah, one location actually gets you faster to the top, which is over here, the first spawn point. And there's going to be some assets here blocking your line of view, so you won't be able to shoot anybody on the first spawn point unless you actually go to this location down there. That's the only way that you'll be able to hit someone on the first spawn point, on the second spawn point, sorry. So we have some little locations you can probably use to hide around in, like these parts here. Then we'll come back here. This is the top area, which has, actually I kind of went a little bit, okay, we're just gonna do this with blood real quick. Yeah, we had that area down there which connects all around. Some of these were meant to be a little bit darker, but I think they're dark enough. I'm really for being able to use your characters to kind of hide in a little bit more concealed areas, make it that you can be seen but you're not that visible. So this is the bottom area of this, the middle area actually. And to go to the top, as I said, one of them is from up there. Another one is actually from probably rocket jumping from here. Another one is the little secret path that we said, which is on the other side of that corridor there. Another one is here, which is not that secret. It's a clear edge that you can walk right up on. It has some more concealed areas here. As you can see, this side of the general station in the middle area is much more concealed. It has much more concealed locations and areas too. It can be used probably a little bit more strategic. And you can also get to the top from here, back to the pipe, and get to the top level of this area. You can wall run across there, or you can jump across, or you can go the long way around from here, and so on and so forth. Now, to get up to the top there, the only way you can do that is from the pipes. This side here has an easier job doing it. They straight away, as soon as they come into this location here, they can just, use the pipe straight away to get up and continue all across the way to get to the top of the roof. Whereas the other side needs to actually go all the way down there to have access to that pipe here. You have the windows here that you can actually look down from, the open locations. You can see it's very open, this side, very open. Whereas the other side is much more concealed. And both sides are going to be more concealed with assets to them, but obviously this side here is, you can only see that there, and everything else is kind of like, the enemy can actually hide in and out of locations. It has a good viewpoint for those guys down there as well from here, so it is a strategic point. I'm trying to have a lot of points that you can have some advantage over your enemies, but at the same time, don't make it too advantaged. You just have to keep your wits about you for every encounter in the game. Where they can shoot you from, where they can snipe you from. And as you can see, it's a pretty big map. So I think it's with good reason that it actually has close to 100 lights. It's actually more like 80 lights. We have reduced some of the lights now, so there's less of them. Yeah. The ways of getting to the bottom end, one of them is actually, let's go from here. We have this way from getting to the bottom from here. Pretty fast actually. From the first spawn point, which is over there, you can actually walk across, and straight away your only option and the fastest way of getting to the bottom is from here. Come here, that's the ramp the other guys can walk down on. So we have, that's another open area here. So we have closed a lot of locations. You do have sniping advantage, not exactly sniping, but field of view advantage over your enemies on some locations, but we try to make as much possible the whole idea of being able to hide behind things and jump and have to use them against your enemy. So this location here is is still quite fast in terms of how, you know, the first spawn point is getting to the bottom, and some may actually say to be a little bit unbalanced, but at the same time it's very strategically difficult spot. You're open to any attack from there, from any of the points down there, from anyone from up there, from the ramp, anyone coming from the side of the ramp here, anyone coming around. It's a very open location. You're open to attack from every direction, whilst at the same time you do have an advantage in who you can snipe out if you get here fast enough, but everybody can hide away from you. So we'll try to balance each location and every aspect to it as much as we possibly can, and of course this will all make much more sense in matches once we get all these things up and running in matches. You know, another little dark area here. As I said, this is the prison bay over there. Connects around to the armory from here all the way down there, which has a jump to get to the top level from there. And from here you get to the top, which has, you can also get here from an elevator in the middle. You can also get here from this room here, which has, over here it has a ramp. You can go from this side of the ramp as well. And then this whole location here, which doesn't look like much now with just plain boxes everywhere, but you know, trying to get that arbitrary and creative feel going to it, but at the same time excuse and explain every single location with a specific purpose. So all the assets, they're all going to fit into different locations, to what they actually are there for, and what they represent, what each location is there for. Yeah. So there's three ways pretty much you can get to the top. One is the jump pad that we said from the bottom ground. Another one is with rocket jumping. You can probably have a couple of wall runs, rocket jump up there, get to the top again from here. You can also rocket jump across up there. As you can see, that little ledge in here, you can rocket jump up to that quite easily. So this side has a little bit more advantage of getting up and down. The other side is a little bit more disadvantaged. So, but at the same time, the other side has more advantage to get into the top faster. So each side, each location actually has its perks, and if you use them right, hopefully with all the balancing, we'll be able to keep the same mentality going for the entire map, and be able to create a map that has a lot of accessibility. Concealment can be used in it. It has locations that are not that accessible, that are actually tricky, and a map that can, oh, what was the third? What was the last thing I was going to mention? Concealment, very accessible, tricky, and at the same time balance it out with different strategies and ways that you can actually get from one location to another, and how you actually aim to take down your opposition. You know, with a lot of assets all over the place, and everything to it is just trying to be balanced out. You know, to make it a very fun encounter. It is reminiscent of Quake a lot, quite a lot actually. So this is the way you can get in here. So yeah, there are fewer ways that you can get to the top from this end. Try to make the strategy a little bit open as well. I mean, it's clearly a large area and you can do a lot of things into it. So, you know, everything's open for interpretation. From down here, for example, the first spawn point, you can go across these long, seemingly corridors to get straight away to the bottom edge, or this corridor here, get to the freighter bay, or you just climb up here and get to the other side, to the top side from here. You know, the concealment again makes it a good strategic point for you, and also, this was actually built. There we go. So you can get on top of that. Then we have this location here. you know, so you can relatively, this is where our big turret's gonna be, our big turret there. You can relatively get around quite fast, and that's the whole point. And the thing is that, generally speaking, in the whole map, it's so big, and there's so many things for, you know, so many ways for you to go around it and do things that you can't actually say that somebody up on the top roof has an advantage, because he can be easily tricked. By the time he goes from one end to the other end, he doesn't know which side someone's going to come up to him from. And a lot of things are open to, you know, the way that somebody can approach the top level. They can approach it from these two locations here. They can approach it from this location here, which is the pipe on this side, or from the other side of the pipe, you know, and straight away have them in their sights. You know, use the whole area to their advantage, and they can move around pretty freely by the time you actually go from one end to the other end. I mean, of course, it's going to be able to move faster, but, you know, for argument's sake, let's say you go from here to the other side. It takes you that long to get to this side, so you're gonna have to probably place the entire team on the top roof to actually get a clear advantage of everything over the other team, which still has a lot of means to actually, you know, to win you. After that, you know, there's a lot of different strategies, because the battle doesn't have to necessarily be on the top floor, and if the guys on the top floor can't see the guys on the bottom, then they're not really winning that much either. You know, of course, arguably somebody can say yes, but that would just mean that, you know, nobody does anything until somebody actually chases them out, until one side chases the other side out, which will mean that the person with the higher ground can win. It is true, but don't forget that it's like a king of the hill scenario. The king of the hill has the advantage, you know, but at the same time everybody's running up to him from all different directions. And depending on the weapons that you have and all the stuff, you know, you can easily see them. It's a very open location. As soon as they go up there, you know, they're spotted from a multitude of locations from all over the map. So yeah, it has its advantages, but at the same time it also has its disadvantages. I mean, anybody can spot you up there straight away, you know, and you have nothing to hide behind. You know, as soon as you go there, they can see you. Whereas here, we're gonna have assets. You're gonna have, you know, little blocks and stuff, and you'll be able to, like, you know, jump in and out of them and do what you want to do to actually avoid being fired at from the people on the rooftops and stuff. So, you know, it helps. And then it's just a charge and attack defense scenario pretty much from then on. If the other team is that stubborn that they would actually sit there and do nothing until you go up to them, there are still ways that you can actually go about that. You know, still ways you could actually get to them without them actually, you know, organize it all at the same time. So you're from here. Oh crap. Probably gonna have to put a couple extra collision objects there. Also, we increased the distance of the corridor just a little bit. We'll probably increase a little bit more once we actually have timed. We're going to time every single location. We're going to map all the locations out, and from the first spawn point count how long it takes to get to every single different strategic point on the map. And we're going to do the same thing for the other location, and we're going to balance the map. We're going to see, well, if one side has, you know, like the first spawn point, if it has too many faster locations, we're going to increase the corridor here, which is their main access to get to the map in the beginning. So that would be a very controlled way of adding seconds to all their times, generally, and trying to balance it out that way. If we, you know, we might notice that they actually are disadvantaged, even though it might not look like it. We might have to decrease the size of the corridor here. So, you know, that's a quick way of straight away adjusting the balancing, you might say, between the two sides, you know, from one side to the other side, from the two spawn points, adjusting the balancing on the go dynamically with just changing one little thing. The rest of the map, it really has a lot of locations to sit and try to balance each and every one of them out, and you know, that really comes into a whole lot of play afterwards. You know, how much, I mean, I'm assuming because this is the case for every first-person shooter so far. You know, even Quake 3 Arena, they had some maps that were the same for so many years, and I think it was Tourney. Can't remember the actual name of which one it was. One of the tournament maps, which one-on-one duel. They had adjusted and they had changed it for the one-on-one duel because it just simply wasn't, you know, it was wrong. The whole map was wrong for one-on-one duel beforehand, and they needed to fix that and change it. So chances are that even after a year of maybe the game being released, which is probably like just under a year from now, for the beta version, as we're hopefully aiming towards. And after that, the full release, which is probably like more than 1.5 years from now, even on full release, there's chances that after 1 year of playing, you know, new things might actually come to, new issues might be addressed from a lot of gamers, and things that we might actually end up noticing about the map that need changing. And it's an ongoing process, and that's why we're here to support the game constantly, and you know, never stop supporting the game, and try to always balance the map out and, you know, implement changes that people will actually see fitting for the map. So even if we sit now and balance this map out perfectly, there's always going to be something new that the community itself is going to be able to stumble across and say, you know what, this location here is not strategic enough, or it's too open, or this part of the map is completely pointless even having it the way it is now. So, you know, bring all these things to our attention so we can actually implement new ways of making locations more strategic, make people actually want to use specific parts of the map more and have different strategies to them and whatnot. So yeah, there is a lot of, as you can see from what I just did there is a lot of going back and forth. There's a lot of accessibility in different locations, how you can go. You can use all these top windows to actually go back and forth to whichever side you want, and you can actually use them to drop down on another side as well, and you can use them to fire between you and the other locations. That there is the opening to here. No, where is it? Oh, it's not opening over there. So it's a pretty dark corner, and you can see the advantage straight away that somebody would have here. The people coming down from up there, they can hardly see them because of the lighting and everything, you know. Unless I am mistaken and I'm looking at the wrong window or the wrong opening. Yeah, it's that one there. See? It makes it very difficult for you to actually see who's down there. So we want to use concealment as part of it. We want to have strategic points, which means that you'll also have to play smart. You know what I mean? Like when you come down here, you'll say, well, I can't see anybody in there, so I'll always, as I'm running down here, of course you'll be able to run and shoot, just like in Quake and Unreal Tournament titles. As you're running down here, you know, you'll be able to just shoot there and see if it comes up with any hitboxes, and if it does, you know that someone's down, and you keep shooting at them. You know, or you running on them from the side and you kill them off. So, you know, you have to have your wits about you in every single location, and how you use the map to get around. That's pretty much it, actually. That's what we've been. We've actually had the collision ready about a week ago. We've been working on assets now, and we're trying to get some of the more important stuff. Whoa. Oh, get up there. I think I'm dead. Yeah. Try to get some of the assets figured out and see how they really play up in the engine, you know, some designing, and more importantly, the main thing that we're focusing on right now at the moment is the Brock model, the character model, and the weapons. So Might be a while till our next update, but hopefully in our next update we'll be able to show you the the first model for the character and for the weapons. If we're lucky, perhaps maybe even have the weapons implemented into the engine. Be able to see them in real time, how they play out in pure game mode, see how the weapons look and what they're like. Okay, so that's it, pretty much. Let us know your thoughts and your opinions on all this, and our progress so far on the Omega Beacon, our first map to Operation Hellstorm. And yeah, see you next time.